All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you now to the Options Action First Official Member Roundtable. Let's go. We have three incredible members here with us today. My name is Ryan Sullivan. I'm your host and producer. But you're hopefully not going to be hearing much from me today on this session. We're going to begin with our three members we have here today. So a little bit about you, where you're from, and then maybe a couple notes on what it's like to trade. Whoever wants to go first, take it. And then we have Jason with the opening question once we're done with introductions.
Okay, you want me to kick things off? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
All right, hey guys, Jason Beamer, Austin, Texas. Been trading for a little over 5 years. Started just with regular, buying and selling stocks at first, and then quickly led to options trading right before coronavirus, I would say, or yeah, right before coronavirus. Done a few different courses that ultimately led me to Bill Fanter. I took the January masterclass with Bill. He's been amazing. I'm sure we'll talk more about him in particular, but yeah, looking forward to chatting it up with you guys.
Love it. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
Awesome. I can go. Jordan Pago, Orange County, California. I've been trading for pretty much a year now. I took the April 2024 masterclass. Bill was actually a client of mine, so that's how I met him and got super interested in trading. Found it very interesting, all his posts on LinkedIn and whatnot. And so, just excited to talk a little bit more about the whole experience.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Jordan.
Cool. Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Eric Rivera. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and similar to Jordan and Jason, I found Bill through LinkedIn, and then just was following him for almost a year before I decided to jump in and take his master class, which, Jason, I think I took it when you took it too in January, and just been doing paper trading, and then just switched over to a real live trading, and what a big leap that was at the same time. So it's been trial and error, but I know we'll get into it, but if you just stick to some of the disciplines that Bill and everyone else brings to the table, it could be successful for you too. So
I love it.
Absolutely. Cool, Ryan. Why don't I kick things off? I've got a burning question that I've been eager to chat about with other members, because usually, as members of a master class, we usually just talk to Bill, predominantly one-on-one types of things. So this is a first opportunity I've had to kind of socialize with other members, which is amazing. But what I was going to say is when you think about when you started, on day one, or even before we invested with Bill, and you think about all the things that you want to get out of a program, because Bill's program offers a lot. He teaches us from different angles, teaches us different things. But if we had to summarize or boil everything down to just a sentence or two, like what's the most important thing that we've got, or that you've got out of or gleaned from his course? If you had to summarize it just in one sentence or two, what would that be?
yeah, you know what? I can jump in on that at first. Just the value add that Bill brings, during his Discord. I mean, that's invaluable. Because anyone can teach this, but when they lay out the practice, and he's got skin in the game like you when you're trading. I mean, that is huge. That's what kind of deciphered me to kind of say, hey, this is different than what we've done before. But again, I mean, it takes discipline. It takes, knowing risk management. So if you combine all those things with the Discord and the course and his other traders that he has on there that are experienced, that's been the game changer for other programs.
I would summarize it not in a whole sentence, but probably just two words, and then that being risk management. I don't think it's sunk into me how important that is as part of the process when I was taking the masterclass, but over the course of the past year, not just continuing to learn from Bill, but now all the other education that I've invested in as well. Like ultimately, I think your success comes down to risk management being one of the top two things, because that just allows you to stay. The better you manage risk, the longer you stay in the game. You don't want to be blowing your accounts and losing all that money and getting frustrated, stuff like that. Risk management, I think, is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, 100% Jordan. So I think it's important to, you know, for us to keep in mind that through in all of Bill's classes, especially the January master class that I went through or that Eric and I went through, there's always traders at different levels, right? So there's people like me that have been trading for, a while, 3 or 4 years or longer. In my case, 5 years. So Jordan, 100% everything that you just said, risk management, if that's something that we as traders learn early on, it'll save us a lot of heartache, and a lot of money, and that sort, a lot of anguish, anxiety, etc. So that is by far the most important thing, as a trader. But for me though, already having learned that prior to showing up on Bill's doorstep, one of the things that I missed along the way in my trading journey over the last 3, 4, 5 years is I really wasn't trading at price levels. So even though I was good at recognizing and I was aware of supply and demand zones, and I've been using them for a long time, I wasn't necessarily charting the way that Bill charts. And if I could take something away, like if the precise question is like surgically, what did Bill bring to the table for me? It was that he taught me how to chart properly, and only take trades at price levels. And that seems like such a simple thing. Like you'd think, damn, Jason, didn't you learn that on day one, back in 2020 or whatever? And the answer is no, no, I didn't learn that. And that in and of itself, as simple of a thing that it might be, that's completely changed and revitalized and enhanced my trading to a point where I'm so much more comfortable and confident taking trades because I know that I'm at a price level, and you can visually see it on your chart, right, on your trading view. Um, and if you're not at a price level, what does Bill say? You don't take a trade, right?
Right.
And it's so simple. It's like, oh, I'm not at a price level. I'm not considering taking a trade. I'm literally patiently waiting for it to get to a price level. And as it's approaching price levels, that's when we're now contemplating trades. Ta-da! Like, done. It's a beautiful thing. It's so simplistic, but it's so important. I think so many traders don't do that. Anyway,
You know what, Jason and Jordan, I wrote this little chart. I don't know if you can see it, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trade. So I put this on my top four, as you can see, and that's exactly what you guys talked about, right? I'll just read them off to you. It says trade 3 to 4 times a day max. Don't overtrade. Limit your risk. I put myself at 30%. Trade in the first couple hours because that's when the volume is, and then trade level to level. So I have this sitting there right by my computer, and kind of helps me focus because you can get lost in the minutia, and you can get lost in the what they call FOMO, as we know, right? And want to trade and chase. But when you look at that, you're saying, let me stick to my discipline. Case in point today, I traded two times today, and both were negative trades, but I knew they were, and I'm just not trading the rest of the day. So, you're not going to win every day all the time, but just stay focused to that, and you will win at least 80% of the time or 70% of the time, as Bill says, and as he walks us through on a daily basis. So.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I know and I have my rules written on my whiteboard on the wall over here. But I think it's very important to have that defined set of criteria for yourself, whatever that might be. And it's gonna it's took me I just wrote these a couple months ago. It took me 9 months to really figure out what exactly makes the most sense to me, and it gives me the best opportunity to stay disciplined. Because I think to your point, if you're sitting in front of the charts for 2-3 hours, whatever it might be, it can be very easy to just get the itchy trigger finger on your mouse and click into a trade that maybe you is not the best setup. And I think having that set defined criteria, and then that being what you focus on in terms of what's going to get you into a trade, and the more rules that you hit, the more boxes you can check, just helps increase your confidence. But I think having that defined set of rules, criteria, whatever it might be, is super important to avoid over trading, losing too much and just taking trades for the sake of taking trades.
Yeah. Yeah, what Bill does very well in the mornings when we trade with him, he tells us what stocks he's getting into, and hey, I'm jumping in here, this is my price level. And then as it goes up or down, he says, hey, set your limit. Set your limit. You're in profit. Set it. Or, hey, I'm getting out of this trade. I'm 10, 20, 30. So it conditions you to those rules that he's been living by for his plus 10 years of trading, right? So I'm trying to get those. I'm still, still got my, sea legs, if you will. At the same time, I got to grow into them. But, just listening to him on a daily basis, that helps out going forward. So.
Yeah, and I think to supplement, because what you guys are saying are all the same things. We could all probably repeat each other to a certain extent. But and Eric, I would say that I've even kind of made my rules similar to yours, but even more simplistic. But up on my wall, it says, I'll just read it to you. It says one setup, per session. So I'm really just looking for one setup
Yeah,
at a
that's good.
minimum per day. If I find more, because it's a good day, great. But I'm just looking for one. So basically 1 to 2 trades per day. The risk reward ratio on those need to be. Sorry for the interruption here. Um, the risk reward ratio needs to be 1 to 2, right? It needs to be at least double. And then that's all you need. I mean, that
Right.
right there is all we need to be a profitable trader or
Yeah.
profitable traders.
I
Plural.
think you hit on something very important there too that took me, I don't know, say at least 6 months to kind of really figure out is that the simpler you can make this process, the better. Like the more repeatable you can make it, the simpler you can make it, the less that you have to think about, the better I think you're going to be able to execute, the more confident you're going to be. And that goes to another realization too that I've had this year is that there are so many ways to like be successful at trading in terms of like strategies and whatnot.
Yep.
Like don't be afraid to, if you're not getting, like this was me. I wasn't really like, I wasn't getting it at first. And, I branched out, looked into other strategies, like watched a ton of YouTube videos, did a lot more education, and now have settled into, a style that is, uses a lot what Bill teaches, but is also different than how he specifically trades. And I found that works really well for me. And I just think that, if you're frustrated, like in this journey as a trader, like just understand that there's a strategy out there. There's a way that it's going to make sense for you. Just don't be afraid to continue to learn, invest, learn from other people. Like I think that's the biggest thing that's helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, Jordan, you know what? I like to just add to that too is what Bill does, Jason, you mentioned it, that he trades level to level, right? And really having those distinguishable levels of earmarking either to go in a trade or not, I think is great. And what Bill stresses is that, sure, there's tons of analytics out there, but, analysis by paralysis, right? I mean, how do you combine that with the art of tracking and placing your levels and really executing at that point? So, as he says, I mean, it's more of that's more of an art than it is a concrete analytical, decision in terms of being able to move on that particular level. So he combines both of those very well, and we just have to learn from him. And the longer we do it, the better we get. So.
Yeah, if I had to, I mean, I keep coming back to it, so sorry to keep harping on it, but if I had to like create or produce a slogan, to try to describe Bill's course, it would be know your levels, change your life, like because the way Bill trades, which is now kind of mostly how I trade as well, that I was not doing before, is I always have price levels drawn. I only take trades at those price levels. And now I look back on what I was doing before, I'm like, how the hell was I profitable at all ever? And really to sum it up, I mean, it was largely luck in some cases, and also paying attention to price action using indicators, but largely, like I would say, I was lucky a lot. Yes, I was using some tools and some good things, but I was not trading price levels back then like I am now. And if you do those basic fundamental things that Bill teaches and you stick to those, you will be profitable. That's fact. And we can all attest to it. I mean, we've been doing it now for, months now.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm a health coach, and so like a big thing I focus on with my clients and their success is the fundamentals. And at the end of the day, I think regardless of whatever endeavor you're trying to do, we often, as human beings, naturally tend to make it more complicated than it's supposed to be because for whatever reason we, conflict complication with success, and oftentimes success comes down to just fundamental execution of the basics over and over and over and over again, and until you get that, like, honestly, you don't have the right to try and get more complex.
It's true. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like football, right? Most of the good football programs out there, preach fundamentals, good defense, all those things. And good defense in our world, in the trading world, is risk management, as you spoke about, Jordan. So all that stuff's important. So I think for me, moving away now from price levels, if we were to, continue down the list, okay, if price levels is like the most important thing that Jason Beamer learned, at least, like it's like what's the second most important thing, or a thing that I've really enjoyed the most from all of this, and it's really the term confluence. Even though it's a term I had heard before, several other people use it in the trading world. I never really used it the way Bill uses it, and I think, if we were to chat about Confluence for the next, 5-10 minutes, specifically, like, what does that mean to each of us type of thing? To me, it's using Bill's supply and demand indicator, that he uses on his charts. I think Bryce, perhaps, Bryce developed it, who's futures trader, right? Using that along with the VIX. I was not using the VIX as Confluence before. And in general, right, VIX going up, we're considering puts. VIX is going down, we're considering calls. Additional Confluence. Things like using the EMAs indicators, and some of the other indicators that Bill uses, especially Fibonacci, right? If you can get good at those in addition to the price levels, I mean, bam, that just it's almost like magic, I would say. I mean, in some ways, I don't want to overemphasize it necessarily, but having someone like him teach it the way he does in real time, and Eric, you mentioned this earlier at the beginning, in real time during a Discord where he's actually got money in the game too, right? That's something that other people just don't do. They don't offer it. They don't get online and trade with you and draw the price levels with you and walk you through in real time, as it's happening, how they're making decisions on a chart and actually placing the trades. Like, that's just a very unique thing, and that's the second most important thing is the Discord itself.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that I've always been someone who learns best by, like, seeing examples, and one that's hands down has been I think the thing that has accelerated my learning the most is being able to watch Bill and then other people as well, like, live trade, listen to their thought process, like, what are they seeing, and then being able to relate what they're seeing to what is actually happening in terms of, like, price action and how price is reacting at certain levels, and what is a good indication of getting into a trade versus holding off, that maybe it's not the best setup. So that I 100%, like, just being able to listen to people who have done this, like Bill, for a long time, walk through their process is such a big important piece of the learning process.
Yeah, it's invaluable. I agree, man. Like, it's night and day different than what a lot of other people offer, I would say.
Yeah, you know what? I like to call that, being in the military, I like to call that the force multiplier. I tell you what, that's powerful. When you walk through the academics, which are great. When I went through the class in January, I was fairly more experienced, or at least in knowledge, but by no way was I ready to start going out there and start trading without Bill's help and his, me putting on my training wheels during the Discord and, paper trading and understanding what a Fibonacci is. I couldn't even spell it. Now we're using it, right? And then all the other terminologies and the things that he walks through in the course, he's actually applying, and you get to see it. To Jordan's point, I'm the same way. I have to see in order to apply, and have to see examples in order for me to say, okay, that's how I do it. This is how I do it. And then in time, you develop your own trading style, which is another big piece, right? You're not necessarily going to follow Bill on his trades, but you're going to use that method, that discipline, to look for other opportunities like that, to Jason's point, to get to that one or two trades that are going to set you up, so you don't have to keep on going in and keep trading and trading and trading. I think that's where a lot of day traders lose a lot of money, as they go in there and continually trade and eventually give back their money, right? So we have to be disciplined, and I think that's what the military brings to me too. I go, 2 trades, I'm done, and I don't feel anything about it, and I say I'll hit it again tomorrow. and then go from there. So, yeah, so that's a big thing. That's
That's
also key.
that's a huge thing, Eric, and I think that is a good what you just said. Even though you and I, don't necessarily know each other, right? But that's a big distinguishing characteristic of you know how Jason, how I used to trade back in the day. I would take 8 to 10, sometimes 12 trades per day. And honestly, my strategy, if you want to call it that, I would buy options that were expiring for at least 4 weeks or 5 weeks or 6 weeks out, which are expensive, right? And take those trades. And I felt this level of comfort just because theta isn't really working on those contracts too hard because they're so far out, right? But that was a foolish thing for me to do because I'm actually paying a ton of money. So, when Bill first, I remember having this conversation because it was such a stark thing. I didn't understand it at the time. When Bill first told me, he's like, "Yeah, I trade 0 day contracts or 1 day contracts, meaning they're going to expire today or they're going to expire tomorrow, right?" you know, and I'm like, in my mind, that is the riskiest type of contract you could buy. Like, how on earth are you possibly making any money? Like, I thought people that bought those were weird, and I thought they were just like dumb and stupid, and that sort of thing. When I first met Bill, I was like, oh no, this is not for me. I don't. There's no way I would touch 0 day contracts. But when you go to the Discord, after you take the educational side and start getting the Discord, it dawned on me we are actually risking a lot less money. And it took me forever. Like, I don't know why I was so slow to come around to this, but I was very comfortable 6, 7, actually 8, 9 months ago, spending $1,000 to get into one, contract of Tesla, right? Because it doesn't expire for 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, right? Totally comfortable. I'll totally do that all day long, but I won't spend $100 or $105 or $110 to buy one SPY contract that expires tomorrow, because it's a psychological thing. In my mind, I don't have a lot of time because it's going to expire in the next 24 hours or less, so I'm not going to buy that, right? That at the end of the day, that was the calculation for me. And it wasn't until watching Bill and he's buying 10, 20, 30, 40 contracts at a time, right? Whereas I'm buying 2, 4, 6. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But especially like I would have never switched over and started buying 0 date or 1 date contracts, unless I had gone through Bill's course. There's no way.
I think the point I want to make, just off some of the stuff that we're talking about here. People may be listening to this and think that, this stuff is like very complex or hard to learn or anything like that. And I thought that too before I took Bill's masterclass. Like, I had a background in finance. I took like some of the Series 6 exams and like some of those different things. And like one of the things I struggled with most was like learning options and calls and all that stuff. And so coming into Bill's masterclass, I was like, okay, am I going to be able to figure this out? And Bill makes everything like so simple, so easy to understand. Like, I felt like, how the heck did I not figure this out before? Like, listening to Bill, he just does such a great job. So I want anybody like listening to this that thinks maybe some of this stuff is like complex or complicated or something like that. Like, Bill makes everything so easy to understand. Like, he's a fantastic teacher. Like, I'm sure you guys would probably agree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like getting back to the price levels again because this is just what stands out. And I associate everything I do in my trading now with drawing the price levels. That's where everything begins for me now. And he on day one or day three or day four actually, he takes you through his routine, right? He basically introduces his routine. It's his blueprint, if you want to call it that, and shares it with us. He's like, okay, everybody pull up TradingView. We are going to, pull up SPY or QQQ or whatever ticker we're trading. We are going to go to the daily chart, right? Draw price levels on the dailies where we always begin. And once we're done drawing the 2 or 3 or 4 price levels there, we move on to the 4-hour chart, and draw whatever price levels that may be relevant. And then we move on to the 1-hour chart, draw the price levels. And then, we can be done. Or if you want to look for intermediate price levels, perhaps go to the 15-minute chart would be the final one where we would look at. We would draw any price levels on those first 3 time frames in yellow because it stands out on a chart, right? And then on the 15-minute chart, if there's any intermediate price levels, we draw those in blue. Bam! That is the blueprint for how to chart, in 1 minute or less. from Bill Fanter, and I can't, overemphasize or stress how simple that is, yet how important that is for everyone to do that. It'll literally change your life if you can just do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah, that's a good point. I wanted to get back to what Jordan was talking about in terms of his background and having securities. I think it's important, that you don't have a financial background to where you're coming in clean slate. I mean, I come from a big bank as well, so we have some preconceived notions of finance of what it should be at the same time. But I tell you what, throw all that out the window. I mean, just learn from day one in terms of what you need to do. And in that Discord, you'll have people that have financial backgrounds that don't even have anything remotely to what Bill has in terms of experience, and they're just as successful because they're applying everything that we just talked about. So having that broad breadth experience, yeah, we're looking for that. He's looking for that. You should be at that level, but not necessarily a financial guru or expert. You don't need to be. You'll learn what you need to know, and then you'll be able to use those as building blocks to be successful. Just as long as you follow the disciplines and the trainings that Bill lays out for us.
100%.
Yep, agreed. And then another thing, if we want to touch on, Bill's been really good at helping us understand how to manage our positions, how to manage trades once we're in a position. So that's kind of for me where the EMAs come in. It's kind of like I never understood. I just probably just wasn't paying attention to it. The importance of the 9 EMA and the 21 EMA, et cetera, right? But it's like, Bill just breaks it down again, very simplistically. If the nine's staying under your 21, it's not crossing over. It's kind of you feel comfortable staying in the trade then, right? You're not going to exit the trade necessarily prematurely. And in the past, I certainly would have gotten out a lot earlier, and then kicked myself because I gave up a ton of profits, hundreds of dollars that I could have collected if I had just not been so impatient. Again, using those indicators that I'm now paying attention to, thanks to Bill, I have this confidence to stay in trades much longer, and I'm just looking at the lines of the EMAs to making sure they're not getting too close to each other or crossing over each other. And if they do start converging, so to speak, that's a telltale sign to go ahead and exit your position.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's part of Confluence, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's another piece outside of the VIX is all those confluences. I didn't know what Confluence meant either until he started showing us the ES and the NASDAQ and the VIX, and then just to see it and say, oh yeah, you do see the trends. But the key is to kind of take that action and don't stay in or pull out too soon in terms of the trade itself. So
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, Eric, just like for me, I obviously it stood out to me about the price levels. Know your levels, change your life is the slogan I came up with. But we could dub Bill's course Confluence Trading just as easily.
yeah,
And I
exactly.
mean, it's mostly about that too. So even though I've singled out one aspect of it, because price levels trading is a big part of the Confluence itself. I mean, it's probably the most important piece. There's so many things that go into it. So I think if we titled Bill's course a masterclass in Confluence trading, I mean, that would be an accurate thing to say as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take that in life.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. He also says, when we're trading, he says, just because you show up, it doesn't mean that you're going to make money, right? He says that every morning. He says, hey, it takes work. If everyone knew how hard or easy this was, everyone would do it, right? So, he mentions that, and he's very cautious of saying, hey, put your stops in profits, put your stops in profits, mind your confluence. So he's always as the live trades are going, you're getting all this active live coaching, which is great. And again, I mean, that's what separates just having a course and then applying it and putting his own money at risk as he's applying it. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Agreed. So, what do you think? This is kind of a fun question for at least to think about. But if Bill were on here and we asked Bill, like, Bill, how do you trade? Like, summarize it. What would Bill say? Let's play that game. How would Bill self-describe his own course if he were on here? What do you think he would pick out? Like top two, top three things. What are the two or three things you have to do to be a day trader? What would Bill say? He would say, get good at trading price levels, right? He would say, get good at reading supply and demand, right? Which is having Bryce's indicator. And if you don't have Bryce's indicator, you can still do it without it, but it's a hell of a lot easier with it. And get good at reading volatility, which is, the VIX, and all that's Confluence trading. But I think it's those three things, right? So price levels, supply and demand, volatility. If you can be good at those three things, you can be a profitable day trader.
I would throw in price action as well. I think
Yeah, absolutely.
that's that very. And I think Bill sums it up best is technical analysis. Like that's I think the all-encompassing term that he uses. Which I mean, those few things that you mentioned there. That's really from a technical standpoint, like the majority of what you need to know, and then the rest of it really comes down to the mental, emotional discipline side of things, which for me personally has probably been my biggest challenge.
Yeah. I mean, no, the psychological side of it is super, super duper important, not to be underestimated. Because if you have a couple bad trades, it can throw you off for a while and create anxiety that just wasn't there before. So
Yeah.
it's like, how do you manage that?
So
Yeah.
I have one for you guys. Why don't we zoom out even further to trading in general? It's gambling. This isn't a real job.
Mm.
Oh, nice side hustle. You probably only do it for. I'm just thinking of every excuse in the book why anybody else wouldn't do this, right? Ultimately, they're scared. Probably it's mostly fear or just the unknown, right? But this is something that I've question that I've talked about with Bill on our other calls to help folks along that journey to maybe see, and you guys covered a lot of it here, but really, I guess, understand what this really is. So I'll keep it super open-ended, but what did you think about this before you even made a trade? And what is something that people should know maybe when they're a little bit curious about trading, but they have some preconceived notions about it?
Good question.
Yeah, it is. It is a good question. Yeah, I get that a lot too as well. Hey, it's huge risk. They don't see the upside. They just see the downside. But that's pretty much everything in life. I mean, you have to make that first step forward, but take the baby steps. Trade one, paper trade, build your momentum, build your confidence, build your expertise in how you're going to trade, and then you don't have to go in it and quit your job and hey, this is what I'm going to live on. I mean, go into it and see where it's profitable, and you'll see it'll work, the discipline, but you have to come with that discipline and that mindset in order for that to happen, to get past all those fears, because you can use those same fear rules on everything that you want to do differently than what you do it now, right? And believe me, being in the military, I risk that almost every day on deployments or wherever. So there's a bit of risk in me anyways. But for people that don't have that risk, I mean, take little baby steps at first. I mean, start something small. That's how big things get made. They don't get made overnight.
Yeah. I would say probably the two big ones that I guess were in my mind kind of when it started is one, that it's super difficult to learn. I would say it's not super difficult to learn. Like I said, Bill makes it very easy to understand. Like any new skill, it will take you time to get good at it. So I think that's where a lot of people maybe falter and fall off and stuff like that. But it's not difficult to learn. And then the other one, as far as it being risky or gambling, like I think like we would all agree, like you get to define what your risk is as far as taking trades. Like you don't even have to put any real money up front. You shouldn't put any real money up front. You should practice. You should learn. Make sure you're comfortable with actually risking your money. Like, yeah, if you are just going to jump in day one after taking Bill's masterclass and put $10,000 into your account, that's a lot of risk that you probably should not take on. But at the end of the day, like you get to decide kind of how much your risk is, how much you want to risk per trade, when to get out of a trade, all that kind of stuff. So, as long as you understand how to manage your risk, the risk is fairly minimal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, to be a good trader, you have to learn good risk management for sure. That is one of the primary fundamentals. But to all the people out there in the world that think of day trading as gambling, this is precisely what I say to folks: is that it's not. Gambling's, to a certain extent, trying to predict what's going to happen in the future, right? As if we had a crystal ball or something. Wouldn't that be nice, right? But we don't, right? But I don't describe trading as that. Like, I've never described it as I'm good at predicting what the market's going to do, right? Good day traders are good at reacting to what the market's doing and interpreting that in such a way that we can extract money from the market, right? Because we're not trying to predict it, even though people like to debate perhaps that subject. No, we're just reacting to what it's doing, and we're collecting money in the process. That's it. And those people that are good at it can make a lot of money. But you know what? Trading's not for everybody, though. I mean, it is risky for sure. That's why, I tell people who are, ask me about it, because I try to like advertise it because I love it. I'm very passionate about trading now. Um, you can trade on a small scale. Just try to make $100 a day. $100 a day adds up, and at the end of the month, you've got an extra 2 or 3 thousand that you didn't have before. That's super, super easy if you trade the way Bill trades. Likewise, if you want to, replace a six-figure income, you can do that too. Make 7, 8 grand a month, 9 grand a month, 10 grand a month in some cases. You can definitely do that trading the way Bill does. And Bill makes, way more than that. And he shows us every morning, 8:30 a.m. Central Time on Discord.
Right? He sure does.
Yeah, I think too, just coming, because this reminds me of something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. Like, I think I did myself a disservice in the beginning, just um, not managing my expectations on how long it would actually take me to become consistent at this. Like, I thought, like, okay, I took Bill's masterclass, I practiced my first month, I did pretty well. All right, I'm gonna put money in and start, doing well at this. And that did not happen at all. It's been very up and down. I've had streaks of doing very well, and then I've had streaks where I have done very poorly. And I think I set the expectations way too high for myself on how fast I was going to be able to start making money at this right away. And it definitely is. It's not a get rich quick type of process. You can make a lot of money very quickly, but you could also lose a lot of money very quickly. And I think managing expectations is very important as well when you get into
Yeah,
this.
totally true, Jordan, for sure. People do ask me that question because a lot of people jump in thinking they want to make, you know, 2 or 3 thousand their first month, and it's not that way for most. 99% of people don't have that experience. But to your point, if you dig in for 5 or 6 months, you can get there pretty quickly. Maybe some people can get there in 3 months, if they're really, really, focused on it and that sort of thing. But I think 5 to 6 months is probably a good general rule of thumb or a timeline that most people, if you dedicate, an hour a day to studying and taking trades and back testing, et cetera, you can get there in 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, I like Bill's stories. He's been doing this for 10 plus years, but he started the same way. I mean, he lost what 70,000 in one trade sometimes. So, I mean, what's great about his course and about the Discord, and of course we're all giving him a big head for talking about him up like this, right? So, but what's great about it is the fact that he shares those stories with you, not to have pity on him, to say, hey, I want to teach you and avoid the rabbit holes that I went down. This is what you need to do to get to that level, that proficiency level. That's at a pace for you, not my pace. He always says, don't trade what I'm trading. Trade what's comfortable for you in terms of quantity, in terms of the type of trading you do, and develop your own style. I mean, he says that constantly, and and he lives it, and he tells you. I mean, he cheers you when you're doing well, and if you do a bad trade, he goes, Jason, why the hell did you do that trade? That was stupid, and he'll tell you. So you get the good and the bad, and he walks you through. I mean, it's like having a coach with you on a day in, day out basis as you learn your trade and learn your way of trading, I should say. So
I hate to bring it to a close. I'm actually really enjoying this. I hope you guys are too. We're gonna do many more of them as well. Anytime. Is there any last? Just because we need 4 or 5 minutes for this to upload. Any last final thoughts? Just on top of the head before we get out of here, guys.
Yeah, I would say, my final thought on Bill as a human being, as a genuinely good person. He's been delightful to have as a coach and as a mentor in trading. The thing I like about him the most, we could talk all day about the value that he brings and his knowledge and skills and how our trading skills have been improved because of him. But, you know, when you do the one-on-ones with him, I mean, those are the times when I've really got the most out of the course, beyond what we get out of the Discord, which is super, super highly valuable. The Discord's extremely valuable, but the one-on-ones, like he shows up, he's like, hey, ask me whatever you want. Like, what do you need to get your trading from here to here? And, every month or so, I think every month and a half, since January, been able to meet up with him. And man, I tell you, I try to extract as much value out of him, in an hour as I can. And I usually do know, like, whatever I've been struggling with over the past 30 days, that's what I go in. I type him a little email, say, hey, Bill, I saw your price levels that you posted. My price levels weren't the same on my chart. Can we spend an hour just chart together with me and teach me what I'm missing? He does that. Like, he's super super flexible. He'll do whatever you need. You just need to be able to articulate that to him, and then he's on it. And honestly, what else could you ask for? I mean, that's what you need a coach for, is specifically that. Like, can you fix my problem?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I would say like Bill's probably one of the best teachers that I've ever worked with, coach, however you want to frame it. He just does a very good job. First off, he's just like a super caring, helpful person to begin with, just a great guy, but he's also just a great teacher and does a really good job of just helping you understand this whole process, because it can be a very uncomfortable process to come into if you don't like have a background to really understand. But I think he just does a great job of the whole thing.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. I just like to add that he's, I mean, it's the academic part is great. What separates him from others is, like your, professor in college, right? How much real world experience do they have in terms of what they're teaching you? Bill has it, so he'll come to you and explain to you, hey, this is how it's done, after he teaches it, and shows it to you. So I think that's where the biggest bang for the buck is, and what sold me is the fact that you have Bill after the course throughout Discord, to be able to kind of walk you through and guide you through. And I think that really will help kind of get you to that next level of confidence, get you to that level of understanding of how to trade, and more importantly, how to day trade, and how when not to trade. Let's put it that way. So
There you go.
Yeah, and knowing when not to trade is just as important as when to
Exactly.
trade.
Yeah,
Right?
for
If
sure.
you can't
And
hit
we know that's at the price level, baby.
that's it. If you don't have brakes, you can't hit the gas. You got
that's it, man. You got to have the gas and a brake. You can't
Exactly.
have one or the other.
Thank you guys so much for doing this today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. It's good to meet you guys too, Jordan, Jason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
too.